Hello and welcome back to Start to Finish TV, the channel where we aim to help you in your filmmaking career. So as this is the first video back, today we're going to be taking a look at the kit that I use to create my videos. Now I should just preface this by saying that this gear has been accumulated over the years by saving up all of my wages. Most of it was secondhand, to be fair. You also don't need this much gear to be able to get started. So to shoot my A-roll, I use the Canon C200 shooting in 4K RAW. Let me know if you think the image quality is amazing down below. I also have a Canon 70D as well as a Canon 600D, which, well, for lenses I mainly use the Sigma 18 to 35mm f1.8 lens. It's amazing, it's expensive, but it's amazing. I should just say you should never buy gear new. If you can get a good deal on it used, get it used. I also have a Canon 10 to 18mm f4.5 lens, which I used to use when vlogging was a thing. Not really a thing anymore. I also have a collection of vintage lenses, including the Helios 44 58mm lens, which use the M42 mount screw. These you can buy on eBay for like less than 20 quid. I got mine for 16. These were made all the way up into like the 80s. They're all like Russian or Japanese or something. And they're not bad for like less than 20 quid when proper glass costs you. When proper glass costs you like 10 times that much. My camera is sat on a newer base plate just because I'm cheap and I don't want to go Manfrotto, which attaches to the camera, and then that is sat on a small rig base plate, which allows me to add 15mm rails, which then allow me to attach accessories. For accessories, I have a V-mount battery plate with a V-mount battery, which is definitely not needed because the power of the BPA 30s, which is the camera battery in the camera, would be plenty enough, but I just think it allows for extra versatility, lasts longer, you can add other accessories, and that's sick. And then that 15mm base plate is just sat on the tripod plate for the tripod. For accessories on the camera, I just use the standard LCD monitor that come with it because the HDMI port and SDI port don't appear to work. United Arab Emirates. I also have I think it was a small rig handle, NATO handle, which allows me to take the additional side handle off much quicker and much easier without having to screw it in, and that saves so much time. I need to do that for the top handle. Normally I'd have the Canon top handle on. Just in this configuration I don't have it because this is my built up rig from what my gimbal rig would be. On the front of my lens I also have the Moment Cinebloom lens. I have the 20% model. If I could go back in time, I would get the 10% because I think the 20% is way too harsh, but you learn from your mistakes. For supports, I have a newer tripod. It's okay. I also have a newer slider. Again, it does the job. It's got a counterweighted wheel. Just I need to have light stands underneath it so it doesn't fall over. And then I have a Zhiyun Crane 3S gimbal. It's okay. I would probably stay away from it personally if I was you, because this is my second one. The first one I sent back because it come up in the sleep mode, and this one just won't balance properly on the tilt axis because it's made out of multiple pieces, so the center of gravity is off. I've tried sorting it, it doesn't work. It's past the return window, so I can't return it, and that makes me a little bit sad. But that's then sat on a small rig ring, which is very overpriced for what it is. It's a piece of plastic with some foam handles with a tripod screw on it, so you can have two hands on it instead of one, and instead of being like this, you can be like this. Makes sense, I suppose. For audio, I use the Rode NTG2 microphone plugged either into my Canon C200 through the built-in XLR ports or into the Zoom H5. Great little recorder, especially if you're on a budget. For lighting, I have the Godox UL150, which is a Bowens mount softbox with a newer softbox octagon. Again, it's okay. The light is great. I also power that using a V-mount battery, which allows me to then free up all the other sockets, and I can just move it around as is. I also have the Yongnuo YN360 Mark 1s. I have 2 of them, both of which are being used currently. I use one as a hair light, which separates me from the background, and then I also use one to add a splash of colour onto the background. They're great little cheap little lights. To support my lights, I have 2 newer C-stands. They're okay. They're the C-stands. I've never had any other C-stands, so I couldn't really compare them to anything. And for my lighter stuff, I have just normal generic light stands. To transport all my gear, I use multiple different cases. I have an Amazon Basics hard case from Amazon. It's basically a Pelican case, and it does the job. I wish I'd have got a bit of a deeper one, but this was the largest one that they did, so I couldn't get any bigger. And that's got all the foam inside of it. It's been like ripped out to fit my gear how I want it to fit my gear. I kind of wish it had dividers like a camera bag. There is things you can do to make it have dividers and stuff. To transport all my basically everything else, all my lighting gear and all the modifiers and all the batteries and stuff, I use a newer carrying case. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a bit of a cheapskate. And then for like the slider and the gimbal, they come with their own cases, so I just use them. To store all my gear, I have some basic and cheap looking garage shelves from Amazon again, which don't look the prettiest, but they do the job to be able to store all my gear, and it's much better than what I had before, which was basically a IKEA TV stand with just all my boxes stuffed underneath it. I've also added an LED strip behind it to make it look a bit more visually appealing. And finally, if I feel like getting aerial shots, I have a DJI Mini 2, which is a cheap little drone from DJI, and it's not that bad. Yes, in theory, had I waited a couple of months, I could have got the Air 2 Pro or whatever it is, and the image quality would be a lot nicer, but that would have also cost me twice as much. And there's all that argument, is it worth it? It would be over the legal limit, I'd have to get a license, and it's not worth it. So that is pretty much everything. Obviously, everything has its own batteries and its chargers and its own media. So obviously the camera uses CFast cards and SD cards. I also have an adapter which allows me to change the CFast card into a 2.5-inch hard drive thing, so I use an SSD. Sometimes that's not as reliable, so if I'm doing something with clients and stuff, I won't be using that. I need to invest in more CFast cards. Obviously all the cables and stuff, but you don't need to know that. So if you did enjoy this video, be sure to let me know by leaving a like on it. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to be notified every time we publish a new video. Also interact with the poll in the eye in the corner to then help us decide which video you want to see next. So yes, I'm Ben with Start to Finish TV, and I will see you in the next video.